Hi, everybody. It's Deborah from PeopleLovingAnimals.com. Thanks so much for tuning in and watching my video today. Today's video is called Do Indoor Cats Need Vaccinations? What veterinary care do indoor cats need? Now, we are on my website called PeopleLovingAnimals.com, and we're in this article called Do House Cats Need Vaccinations? And I'm going to give you the link to this article in the description box of this video so that you can follow along with me here in the video as we go over the points. But if you want to read the whole article and click all the buttons in it, you can click on the link for the article in the description box and it'll take you there. But any links or anything that I mention within this video, I'm going to give you the links to in the description bar as well. Okay, so if you are brand new here, welcome. This is a website called PeopleLovingAnimals.com. I've been building it since 2015, and it's all about the health and care and training of dogs and cats. So welcome. If you are already a subscriber, thanks so much for subscribing. I'm trying to build my channel, and I'm trying to help animals, and I so appreciate you showing up and subscribing and watching my videos and helping me to help animals. Okay, so again, welcome. And thank you so much for watching my video. Now, first of all, this is my cat. I had this cat for 20 years. She was a sweet, beautiful girl. I still think about her on a regular basis. I lost her several years ago. That cat was with me for 20 years. And, you know, there aren't that many relationships in my life where the people have been with me for 20 years. And I'm just going to go off topic just for a minute here because I just want to share this with you. Because this cat lived 20 years, it was obviously particularly heartbreaking when she did finally pass away because I had had her for so long. This cat slept at the foot of my bed for 20 years. I was there when she was born. I owned her mother, and I actually was in the room when this cat was born, and I was in the room when she died 20 years later. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her during this video because some of the things that we're talking about here pertain to her. But one of the things that I found so interesting when this cat passed away was that by the time this cat passed away, I had lost both of my parents. Okay, at the time of this video, I'm currently 51 years old. My father died at 53 of lung cancer. I was 30 when my dad died. My mother died at 61 of kidney cancer, and I was 37 when my mother died. So obviously, both my parents tragically died very young, and I lost my parents at a very young age. So both my parents were deceased. And I was also married and divorced by the time this cat died. Okay, so my point is, when this cat died, she was one of the few people, living beings in my life who had met my parents, who ever knew my first husband. Do you know what I mean? And just the enormity of the volume of time that she had been with me, even little things, every car I had owned for 20 years, she had ridden in. You know, because you take the cat to the vet. She didn't drive around with me, but, you know, take the cat. Every car I had owned. I moved a lot. I've always moved a lot. I have rental properties. I do all these things. This cat lived in several different houses with me over the 20 years. And she's the only one who would know about, you know, that red Honda Civic that I drove 15 years ago. She's the only one that knew about, you know, the house on Escarpment Drive that I lived in several years ago. Or you know, she was one of the only ones, a very few people in my life who had met my dad, who had met my mother, who had known my ex-husband. Do you see what I mean? So I just wanted to take a minute to talk about her because she was just such a beautiful girl and I loved her so much. She was a snuggle bug. She was a very sweet cat, and she had a wonderful, wonderful life, and she lived for 20 years. So whenever I see this picture, oh, we love them so much, don't we? So let's get back to the subject. Do indoor cats need vaccination? It is true that indoor cats live longer than outdoor cats. Obviously, indoor cats they're not exposed to as many things. They're not exposed to as many illnesses, diseases. They don't get into fights with other cats. They don't go out and get attacked by a dog. They don't go out and get hit by a car, all these sorts of things. So, obviously, it stands to reason that indoor cats just generally live longer than outdoor cats. But that doesn't mean that they can skip their annual wellness visit to their vet. Indoor cats are just as prone to developing illness as outdoor cats, and catching diseases and illnesses early on makes treatment easier on you and your cat and your wallet, because if you've had any pets at all in your life and if you've had any of them get sick, it can be quite expensive. So do or don't, house cats need vaccinations? Here's what I can tell you about this. First of all, a lot of people ask this question: why should I vaccinate my indoor cat against things she's never going to catch because she's never going to be exposed to it? Okay, that's the question. That is, in fact, a question that I asked my veterinarian of this cat. Now, this was many years ago. This cat would have been, I don't know, 2 or 3 years old. I also had her brother who was a year younger than her. And way back at that time, I had a regular veterinarian at my local pet animal hospital. At that time, he was probably in I would say his late 50s. He had been practicing as a veterinarian for many years. He was a well-respected vet. And I asked him that question: do I really need to spend the money to give my cats all these shots because they're in the house? They're not exposed to anything. And I'll tell you what he told me. What he told me was he didn't think it was necessary for them to have all the shots that cats normally get, because they're in the house and they're not exposed to anything. Um, Now, two very important things about this. First is what they're exposed to realistically, and second is rabies. Okay, first is what they're exposed to realistically. Now, I had this cat for 20 years. That cat never showed any interest whatsoever of going outside. She didn't want to go outside. She never stepped foot outside. The only time this cat left my house was in a carrier to go to the vet. She had no interest in going outside. As a matter of fact, if she was sitting like by this screen door here and you opened the screen door, she would run into the house. She was, I think she was afraid of outside. She never wanted to go outside. Her brother, on the other hand, when he was a kitten, I would say the first 6 years, possibly even, or I'm sorry, 6 months, possibly even the first year of his life, he would try to get outside. And several times he would escape and he would run outside. And so now what happened with him was one winter he shot out and was stuck outside. I could not find him. He spent an entire winter day outside. I live in Western New York near Buffalo. Okay, cold. It was snowing. It was cold. I could not find him. The cat spent, I would say, about 10 hours outside. Well, he finally did make his way back to the house, and he was in rough shape when he came back. He was a frozen popsicle, and he had a stick um, sticking out of his hip. He wasn't badly injured. It was okay, but the cat was a frozen popsicle. He never tried to get out again. He never tried to get out again. He lived for 14 years, and he never tried to get out of the house again. But my point is, if you have, oh, my cat's an indoor cat, really? Are they? Because if they're sneaking out on a regular basis and they're going to jolt out the door, bolt out the door, and they're outside, they are exposed. They can go out there, they can get into a fight with another cat, they can get lost, they can be gone for days. Many cats, if they get out of the house, they'll be gone for days. I'll tell you this funny story, and this is why my videos go on so long, because I just like to tell you things because I just think it's funny. And if you're watching this video, obviously you're another cat lover, so I'm guessing that you would enjoy this story, talking about cats being gone for days. This cat's brother, I named him Myron. Myron's litter had several kittens in it, and one of the kittens we named him Crooked Foot when he was a kitten, because when he was a kitten, he actually had a deformity and his foot was crooked, so we called him Crooked Foot. Okay, so it's of the same family as this cat. Well, Crookedfoot ended up being adopted by my then brother-in-law, Ed, and Ed's family. Ed had two little boys. Crookedfoot was a cute little tomcat, and he loved, the family or whatever. So they renamed him from Crookedfoot to Badger. So his new name was Badger. And he lived with them for a few years and everything seemed fine. Well, one day the cat's missing. The kids are upset. The wife is crying. And Ed just trolled the neighborhood for I'd say a good 2 weeks, looking for that cat and, praying he wouldn't find him on the road, which he never did. And he just looked for that cat. And so we all just finally had to just surrender to the fact that Badger was gone. And, we assumed something had happened to him and everything. Months later, Ed is driving down his own street to work, and he happens to notice in a neighbor's picture window, there's Badger. So Badger ran away from home. Badger went down to live with a neighbor. So he was alive and well living down the road. But the story was so funny when he was done. And there's Badger, there he is living down the road. The whole family's distraught. The kids are crying. So anyway, that's just a little funny story. But it goes back to the fact that your indoor cat might get out, all right? And they could be out for several days. They could be out for a day. They can be out for several hours, all this kind of stuff. So when you're questioning, okay, well, I have an indoor cat. Does he really need shots? Well, make sure it is, in fact, an indoor cat. Now, in that veterinarian's opinion, that many years ago, his opinion was if it is indeed an indoor cat, then no, they don't have to have all the shots. Now, another quick point, that was many years ago. Now, if I asked a veterinarian today, I don't know if their answer would be the same. So I am going to advise you, if you're trying to make this decision, get the opinion of your veterinarian, and see what they think. You don't have to do what they say, but see what they think. Get their opinion, okay? Now, the second thing I want to talk about is rabies. That veterinarian said he did feel that if the cats were indeed totally indoor cats, that they didn't need all the immunizations that most cats get, but he did say they do need rabies. Now, that many years ago, you didn't have to have a rabies shot, but now it's required by law. It's in most states, maybe all states. I don't know about other countries, but in the United States, several states at least, if not all states, they do require it by law. So you should check with your veterinarian, and it probably is required by law. But the reason it's required by law is because even if you have a house cat, other animals can get into the house. Okay, let's talk about this for a minute. If you've ever had a mouse in the house, if you ever had a rat in the house, if you ever had a squirrel or a chipmunk or a bird get in the house, also bats getting into the house is quite common. These are all animals that can carry rabies. And if your cat bites into a mouse, the thing, other animals can come into the house bringing rabies. Okay, rabies is fatal. If you get rabies, you die. If your cat gets rabies, he dies. Okay, so it's not worth the risk. It is too risky. And then you've got a cat who has just eaten a bat who has had rabies. And so now you've got a cat carrying rabies if he bites a child, if he bites you, if he bites your other cats. Do you see what I mean? So that vet way back when said, they do have to have the rabies shot, and this is why. And now the states basically require it by law, and this is one of the reasons. In my article, I say it's true that the vaccinations help protect cats from many bacterial and viral conditions they'll only catch from other cats. But if your unprotected cat slips outdoors, she's got no help fighting communicable illnesses. It is a judgment call as far as the usual shots. But when it comes to rabies, they really should get at least the rabies vaccine. In some states, this is required. In many states now, if not all, it is required. There are several documented cases of infected animals making their way into residents, and for an indoor cat, a bat can make a tempting squeaky toy. If your indoor cat catches a mouse, or if a bird gets into the house and that animal is infected by rabies, your cat wouldn't be wouldn't be protected if they haven't had their rabies shot, and rabies is contagious and rabies is fatal. Now, for more about this issue, I do give you a link here. I'm going to show it to you. It goes to PetMD, where they do a more in-depth article about cats and rabies. All right, so you can research that a little bit. So, that's the scoop, all right? And like I say, I would suggest that you talk with your vet about it, see what their opinion is. There could be vaccines now that weren't available way back when I asked my vet about these particular cats. There may be things that have changed, and so I would suggest talking with your vet. But again, I think other than the rabies shot, I think it's a judgment call, and it's between you and your vet for you to discuss it. Think about what the risks are realistically. What are the risks for your cat, and make your decision. Now, let's talk about what kind of veterinary care does an indoor cat need? Not just shots, but what do they need? They're not outside. They're not, out in the world like a dog might be, that sort of thing. So let's just talk about this. All right. First of all, take them for a physical. Minimally, they should be going to the vet once a year. The physical exam covers several important things like monitoring your cat's weight, checking their blood pressure, heart rate, temperature. The vet will look in your cat's mouth. He'll look at their teeth. He'll look inside their ears. These are all ways a developing illness or condition can be detected early, which prevents serious illness in the future. Let's think about a couple of things here. For example, an abscessed tooth. I had two different dachshunds. Both had terrible problems with their teeth. They both had an abscessed tooth. One dachshund had one abscessed tooth in her life. The other dachshund I think she had three or four that had to be pulled because they were abscessed. So, for example, your cat could, if they get a cavity and they get a tooth decaying, you don't know. Eventually the cat might stop eating, but it's going to be pretty advanced before you're going to know it, because first of all, they're just going to bear the pain. What are they going to do? Complain? They can't tell you. They can't tell you that they have a toothache. So they're going to begin chewing more gingerly, and then they're going to begin chewing on the other side of their mouth, and then they're going to begin eating less because they can't tolerate the pain. All these sorts of things. This is all going to go on without your knowledge. Okay, so that's just one example of a thing that is quite common in pets, to have tooth decay and have the teeth get infected and abscess. So, you take your cat to the vet once a year. He looks in her mouth. He makes sure she's okay. That's just one example. Also, during the vet exam, your vet is going to feel around. He's going to push around in their abdomen. He's going to check their heart rate. I had a cat who had a heart murmur that was discovered at just a regular vet visit. There was a skip in the heartbeat, and they discovered the heart murmur, so she was monitored after that. They'll check their joints. They'll move their legs around. They'll see if anything is, inflamed, or everything's, things are not right. There's all kinds of things. Now, let me tell you something interesting, and I'm just trying to give you examples of some of the things that I have had with my own pets where, geez, this was discovered at the vet's office. Just during a regular exam. My tomcat, Myron, and I was talking about him earlier. He's the brother to the cat in the picture that I showed you. He's Myron, who's the one that got out and spent the day outside and never tried to get out again after that. I took him to the vet once, and the vet says to me, "This cat is pale." I said, "What do you mean?" That was this cat's brother, and he was the same coloring. Okay, so here's a black and white cat, white and black fur on his face. And the vet says to me, "The cat looks pale." And I thought, what do you mean the cat looks pale? It's not like skin like ours that we look white. And he said his nose is white. Instead of pink, like his little nose was always pink, his nose was white. He opens up his mouth, and all of his gums and his tongue were not pink. They were white. He says the cat is pale. Turns out the cat was dangerously anemic. The cat was dangerously anemic. This was discovered at a vet visit. The cat goes to the vet takes one look and says the cat is pale. Do you see what I mean? So that's just one example of how just a regular trip to the vet, I didn't know that the cat was having any sort of an issue, and it was an issue, and it's important. Now, one of the other things we're going to talk about monitoring your cat's weight. and get the vet's help if you've got a fat cat. Now, this is an important subject, and there's a reason why I'm bringing this up in this. Okay, there's a couple of reasons I'm bringing this up, and it's quite serious. One is that weight gain or loss is a big indicator of a health problem for a cat. For example, I'm stuttering a little because there's like so much that I want to tell you that I don't know what to tell you first. I'm sorry that I'm stuttering a little bit. Let me tell you a couple of things. This cat started to gain weight quickly, and I thought it was odd. I took her to the vet, and he said, yeah, we got to do blood work. He did blood work. They discovered a problem with her kidneys. She was having a kidney issue. Now, that was when she was 10 years old. The cat lived to be 20 years old. When she was 10 years old, they discovered that she had a kidney issue, and it had something to do with the way her body did or did not process protein. That's all the understanding I have of what her condition was. He gave her a prescription cat food. It was one of the Hill Science Diet prescription food having to do with this particular kidney issue, and it literally saved her life. Now, that vet said that it saved her life. That was when she was 10 years old. She lived till 20 years. The vet did tell me the cat would have died of this condition had it not been discovered. Now, this was not something that was just discovered at an annual vet visit. The cat was losing weight, or gaining weight rather, and so I took her to the vet to check it out, okay? But a cat either losing or gaining weight is something that can indicate a whole slew of health issues for cats. Now, let me tell you about this next story. I had a little black cat. Her name was Miss Abigail. Sweetest, cutest, most beautiful girl. Loved her so much. I got her when she was 5 or 6 weeks old, and I had this girl. Abigail was a fat cat. She just ate a lot. She was an indoor cat. She was playful and everything, but she just ate a lot. She was a very sensitive kitty, and I think she ate for emotional reasons. She was a very fearful sort of cat. She was a very sensitive kitty, and I don't know if that's why she ate too much. I don't know. But she was quite fat. I wouldn't say that she was obese, but she was quite fat. Well, she ended up dying of what's called fatty liver disease. And there's a reason why I'm telling this story, so please bear with me as I try to explain and tell you what you need to know about this. She died of a disease called fatty liver disease. Now, what happens is when you have a fat cat, if you reduce their calories too drastically, they can develop fatty liver disease. Fatty liver disease can be fatal. My cat died from this, okay? So Abigail was a fat cat. Now, I wasn't trying to help her lose weight. I wasn't restricting her calories because she was fat. I wasn't doing that. But what was happening, unbeknownst to me, was she was having some medical issue. To this day, the vet and I don't know what her medical issue was. She had some sort of medical issue that kept her from eating so much. Either she lost her appetite or she wasn't able to eat for some reason. Perhaps she was nauseous. Who knows? But for some reason, this cat stopped eating so much. All right. Well, I did not know. I had two cats at the time. I fill the food dish, it goes down. I fill the food dish, it goes down. I don't know who's eating. I did not realize that the cat was not eating as much. And I don't know how little she was eating, but she was not eating as much. And then she eventually started throwing up. And when she was throwing up is when I took her to the vet. By the time I took her to the vet, she had already developed fatty liver disease. Okay, so I don't know how else to explain it. It was because she reduced her calorie intake so quickly and drastically that she got the fatty liver disease. The fatty liver disease was not why the cat stopped eating. I hope I'm explaining this correctly. The fatty liver disease was not why the cat stopped eating. We still don't know why the cat stopped eating, but because she stopped eating and reduced her calories drastically, she ended up developing fatty liver disease, and sadly, she did not recover. She was only 9 years old, and she passed away. I lost her. They were not able to save her. So there's a couple reasons I'm bringing this up. First of all, if you have a fat cat, it's not good for the cat to be obese. It is more common in indoor cats, obviously, because they don't get as much exercise as outdoor cats. Obesity in cats can lead to diabetes. It exasperates joint pain in older cats, and it can, it can cause all kinds of health problems, just like it does for a person if you're overweight. But if you have a fat cat, work side by side closely with your vet on helping that cat to lose weight, because if you have a fat cat and you reduce their calories too quickly, too drastically, the cat can develop fatty liver disease and die. Okay. And also, again, if your cat is getting fat, or if your cat is losing weight, this can be a good indicator that they have some sort of a health issue. So again, they're an indoor cat. They still need medical care. They still need to be seen by the vet. Okay. And that's just one of the tragic reasons. Early detection can save your cat's life. As cats get older, they can start to show signs of diseases that are typically associated with age. Simple blood tests can check for chronic kidney disease, overactive thyroid, diabetes. These often affect older cats, but these things happen in younger cats as well. Establishing a baseline and keeping an eye on these markers can allow for early detection and easier treatment. And like I told you earlier, my vet discovered kidney disease early on in my 10-year-old cat, changed her food to one specifically formulated for that particular condition, and literally saved her life. So there's just so many reasons why your cat needs to be looked at least once a year. Take your cat to the vet, get them checked out, okay? And the other thing about cats as well as dogs is, forgive me if you have children and I'm comparing animals to your children. I want to say it this way. They're like a toddler. A toddler will run around with 103.5 temperature. You don't know it. Do you know what I mean? A toddler will go until they drop. They're not going to tell you, Mommy, I don't feel good. They're not going to tell you, Mommy, I have a headache. They're not going to say, Mommy, I have a fever. They're too little. They don't know. They don't understand something's wrong. They don't understand they should tell Mommy. Do you see what I mean? Cats and dogs are the same way. They can't tell us when they're having a problem. So sometimes their fever needs to get up to 103.5 until they drop. Do you see what I mean? They have to start vomiting before they drop. But by the way, a cat vomiting is a very, very, very serious thing. If you have a cat who is vomiting, you need to take them to the vet, okay? Because by the time the cat is vomiting, it's like the toddler with the high fever. You won't, by that time, whatever it is has gotten serious, okay? So you got to realize that if your cat is throwing up, if your cat is not eating, if your cat is all of a sudden not using the litter box, if your cat is all of a sudden not having a bowel movement, not urinating, if your cat is all of a sudden drinking tons of water or all of a sudden stops drinking water, if your cat is panting, these are all things. And don't say, oh, geez, the cat's acting weird. Because you know what? By the time the cat is acting weird, whatever it is has progressed. Because like I say, it can go a long time before they start showing the symptoms. So by the time they start showing the symptoms, they could be in serious trouble. Okay? Uh, let's just keep going here. Also, protect your cat from fleas, ticks, and heartworm. If you don't know, there's a product called Advantage. I'm going to give you a link in this article. I'm also going to give you a link in the description box. If you don't know what that is, that's the flea medicine that goes on the back of their neck. They have it for dogs and cats. You put a drop on the back of their neck once a month, and it protects them from fleas and ticks. And this does work. And sometime I'm going to do a video all about getting rid of fleas, and I need to do that because boy, I struggled for years. I've had so many animals. I've done the flea baths, I've done the sprays, I've gotten everybody out of the house and bombed the house, I've done all this crap. And I am telling you from my own experience, the only thing that works is Advantage. Now, I don't know if you know of something else that works, that has absolutely worked for you. Please put it in the comment box. I would love to know if there are other things that can work, but I personally found that nothing actually gets rid of the fleas like Advantage. And like I say, I'm going to give you the link to go ahead and get Advantage. You put it back of your cat's neck, a few it comes in a little plastic tuber thing. You rip off the top and then you move it's kind of like between their shoulder blades on the back of their neck. You put the drops onto their skin once a month, and that's how you protect them from fleas and ticks. Now, if you live in a cold climate, you generally only need to do that for the summer months. But if you live in a warm climate, you need to do that all year long, and it does, in fact, get rid of fleas. Now, let me tell you a couple of things about this. Fleas and ticks can easily hitch a ride into your house, not only on outdoor cats, but also on dogs, kids, and even on you. Your indoor cat must absolutely be protected against fleas and ticks. Even a stray mosquito in the house is capable of transmitting potentially lethal heartworm disease to your cat. And prevention is easy with products like Advantage. Don't put your cat at risk. Now, let me tell you a couple of things. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say if you're a single person and you have one house cat and you live in the house and you don't have any fleas, don't go get Advantage. Okay? But if you see a flea, go get it. Because guess what? If there's one, there's a ton more in the works. Okay. If they aren't already born, there's eggs all over the place. They will multiply before you know it. It will be a problem. So I don't think it's necessary to give your cat Advantage if it's the house cat, if you don't have any other dogs, if you don't have anybody running in and out, and if you never see any fleas in your house, then don't worry about it. But especially if you have a dog that's going outside every day, and you have a cat, you should probably put it on the cat too, because you don't want the dog bringing in the fleas and then the cat gets them. So that's my take on it. Now, all the years that I've had animals, I've always lived in Western New York. I don't put Advantage on my pets during the winter months because fleas generally don't live here in the winter months. They freeze to death like the rest of us. So in my experience, I've only needed to have the flea prevention during the summer months. And I would say like from the 1st of May through through the summer months, and I would say straight through the end of September, possibly even straight through the end of October where I live. You can ask your vet for his or her opinion on that. But one other thing I want to tell you about fleas is yet another tragic story. And I hate to be dramatic, but these things have actually happened to my animals. So I want to share the information. I had a litter of kittens. The mom had fleas. This was before I had ever tried Advantage, before I realized that it was available. All I knew back then was the stupid, useless, I think they're useless, the flea shampoos and the sprays and, the flea bombs that you would put off in your house. That's all I ever tried. I had tried everything. Still, the mother cat had fleas. Well, she has the baby kittens. I think there were 4, and the kittens had fleas. And I was told that the kittens were too young for flea stuff. You can't put flea spray and all this crap on a young kitten. It's too much for them. You can't do it. So I said, well, I didn't know what else to do. One of those kittens died from the fleas. Just tiny, tiny newborn kittens about this big. And, fleas drink blood. They're little vampires. The kitten died from anemia. She died from blood loss because there were so many fleas. Now, if I had put Advantage on that mother cat's neck at the beginning of the season, she would have never had the fleas. The kittens would have never gotten the fleas. And that little sweet kitten, it was a little black kitten. Oh, it breaks my heart to think that I could have prevented that had I been smarter. And that's why I'm giving you this information, because the more you know, the better you do. Okay, so take fleas seriously. They carry a lot of diseases. And plus they just make you uncomfortable. They make you uncomfortable. They make the cat uncomfortable. And then if the cat has fleas and they're itching so much, then they've got all kinds of skin conditions because they're itching so much. They're breaking apart the skin. The skin gets infected. They're literally pulling their fur out with their teeth. It's a terrible thing. So, like I say, talk to your vet about it and get your cat the flea protection. Now, in my opinion, the Advantage works best. If you find something better, if you know of something better, please share it in the comments for all of our benefit. Okay, the other thing is consider pet insurance. I do have an article on my website called Is Pet Insurance Worth It for Cats? I'm going to show you that in just a second. I have 2 pet insurance companies that I recommend on my websites. I've done the research, I've done the shopping. The first one I recommend is called Healthy Paws, and the second one is called Pet Plan. And I'm giving you the links to Healthy Paws in here. Pet insurance is not that much money. You can get a policy starting at like $10 a month. And I'm not going to go into a whole topic now about the benefits of pet insurance. I'm going to give you the link so that you can read my article and see my video. But I can tell you that it's important because, number one, the pet insurance pays for shots if your cat needs regular shots. It's just like a person's health care plan. It always pays for all the preventative stuff, their annual vet visit, their annual shots, that sort of thing. It'll pay for that stuff. And then all of these terrible diseases that we've been talking about, especially when your cat gets older, pet insurance would help a lot. Now, let me click into here as I continue telling you this. I'm going to give you the link for this. Here's the insurance worth it for cats. And this does come, I know this one doesn't come with a video. On my YouTube channel, I have a video, is pet insurance worth it for dogs? This is a reminder to me I need to do one for cats as well. But here's the article, is pet insurance worth it for cats? I'll give you the link. This is my little Abigail. There she is. That was her the day I brought her home. Look at her. The people I got her from said she was 6 weeks old, but she looked awful tiny to me. I think she was only like 5 weeks old. But anyway, there's my baby. The day I brought her home, I named her Miss Abigail. And, well, I'll tell you another funny story. I'm sorry to keep you so long, but I will tell you. I didn't name her Miss Abigail. I named her Frederick. Because when I got her, they told me, the people I got her from said she was a boy. And cats are very hard to tell. I still, to this day, I have a hard time telling. Because especially when they're that young, it's hard to tell by their privates, whether they're a boy or a girl. They said it was a boy. I took the cat home. I named him Frederick. And then I made an appointment with the vet to have him neutered when he was, a few months old. I take the cat to the vet. They said, oh, we won't be neutering this one. We'll be spaying this one. And I was floored. They told me it was a girl. So I renamed her Abigail. And it took a few weeks for me to get used to it because, you think of him as a boy, and then all of a sudden she was a girl. And it was just a very strange few weeks. But, thank God I found out. And, so she's a girl, obviously, and her name is Miss Abigail, and she was the sweetest little thing. But back to the pet insurance. This little girl, when she had that episode with the fatty liver disease, she was only 9 years old. That episode cost me $2,900. All right. Like I said, she wasn't eating. I didn't know she wasn't eating. She started throwing up. I took her to the vet. They discovered she had fatty liver disease. She spent a few days at the vet's office overnight. They thought they had her in good shape. They sent her back home. She slipped back, and I took her back into the vet, and she was in critical condition, and she died at the vet's office. And the whole ordeal cost me $2,900. So if I had had pet insurance for Miss Abigail, obviously the pet insurance would not have saved her life in this particular instance, but it would have saved me the $2,900. I also had the other cat who I showed you the picture of. She developed a bladder stone, and her surgery was $700. Now, that was just the surgery. That wasn't the vet bill to take her in and figure out what was wrong with her, and that didn't include the blood work and the urinalysis and all that kind of stuff. The surgery itself to remove that bladder stone was $700. So I would say that whole ordeal cost me about $1,000. The Tomcat Myron, who I told you he was the one that snuck out and all that kind of stuff. When he died, I had him cremated. The cost of his cremation was $300. Now, these are all several years ago that these things happened. So these very same occurrences would cost even more now. So I do definitely recommend pet insurance. And so, like I say, I give you the link in my article and on my website, and I'll give it to you in the description box. Pause. They're a very reputable company. They have good prices. Their benefits are good, and but you can shop around for yourself if you'd like, and compare, but I do recommend that. A couple more things before we go. First of all, I hope this video has helped you. If it has helped you, I would appreciate it if you would give it a like. It really helps YouTube. It really helps YouTubers when you hit the like button. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, I would love to have you on board as a subscriber. I do a video at least once a week all about the health and training and care of dogs and cats. I also donate to animal charities. Within my website, I often am recommending products and services. I research products and services, like, for example, the health insurance. I have articles on my website. I do reviews for these companies. I've compared them all. I compare all of the companies, and then I make recommendations based on what I found. I've done the same with cat training programs. I've done the same with dog training programs, all kinds of products. Plus, I also recommend certain products, like in this particular video. In this article, I'm recommending the Advantage flea medication for your animals. I'm an affiliate for Amazon. I'm also affiliate for some of these pet-related companies, and I get a small commission if you purchase these things. If you get health insurance for your pet through the link that I'm giving you, I will get a small commission for that. And if you purchase any of the things that I talk about in my articles and my videos on Amazon, I'm an affiliate for Amazon, so I get a small commission for that. Now, first of all, this is how I do this for a living. This is my job. This is what I do for a living. Secondly, I donate 10% of all of the commissions that I earn, all the income, not just commissions, all the income that I get from my peoplelovinganimals.com website and also this YouTube channel to animal charities. And there's a link in here. And also, if you go to the homepage of my website, you will see a list of the, this is me, by the way. These are my last two dogs. This is my Boston Terrier named Cagney and my wiener dog named Taz. Oh, they're so beautiful. Anyway, I'm crying a little because they've both passed away. How are we supposed to live, Honestly, how are we supposed to live when we have to say goodbye to our animals? I just had a friend just yesterday. I found out she lost her little dog. She had a little terrier, a little sweetie. It was a cross between a beagle and what are those little terrier, Jack Russell Terrier. If you ever watched the show Frasier, that little dog, Eddie. Eddie is a Jack Russell Terrier. This little dog was a cross between a Jack Russell Terrier and a beagle. Get a visual in your head of what that looks like. She was adorable. Her name was Faith. She lived a very, very long life. She had a family who loved her so much. She was a spoiled little dog, and I loved her so much. And she passed away yesterday, and oh, it's so hard, isn't it? But anyway, on the homepage of my website, you can see a list of the animal charities that I donate to. So anytime you make any purchase of any product or service that I recommend on my website using the links that I give you and the links that I give you in the YouTube description boxes, 10% of that goes to animal charities. Now, like I said, here's what I'm going to give you in the description box. I'm going to give you the link to the article that we've used for today's video. You can read it. You can click on all the links in it. I'm also going to give you the link to my website where you can go and you can see the website. You can go to the menu. You can see what other things are on there that might be of interest to you. I'm going to give you this link to PetMD where they talk about the rabies shots. I'm going to give you the link to Amazon for the Advantage flea control. I'm going to give you the link to the article, Is Pet Insurance Worth It for Cats? And I'm also going to give you a link to sign up for my cat lovers email list. Well, first of all, I'll give you a free gift for subscribing. And what it is, it's this nice little PDF, little electronic book all about stopping bad cat behavior. It's a really cute, really well done little PDF, little book about stopping bad cat behavior. And I'll give you that as a free gift for subscribing to my cat lovers email list. And then once you're subscribed, about every 5 or 7 days, you'll get an email and it'll show from peoplelovinganimals.com. And it will either be a blog post or it'll be an article or it'll be a video all about cats. So I would love it if you would join me as a subscriber, not only on this YouTube channel, but also on my cat lovers email list. And when you're on that list, you also get a notification via email. I'll send you any new videos I do about cats. If you are a dog lover as well, you can go onto my website, click on any dog thing. Like, for example, you'll see on my website, I have pet training, I have dog training, cat training, puppy training. Click on the dog training stuff and you'll see a pop-up that you can also subscribe to my dog lovers email list as well, if you would like to. And if you subscribe to that list, you get a little free dog training manual. So, can't think of anything else. I hope I'm not forgetting anything. But, God bless you for having a cat, for taking care of a cat, and for being a pet owner, and for going to the trouble of getting online and looking for this video and educating yourself so that you could be a good cat parent, because obviously you are. If you're checking in for information and you're trying to educate yourself and make the best decisions for the care of your pet, good for you. Good for you. And, I can tell you just by the fact that you're here, and especially if you have listened to this video through to this point, you are a true blue animal lover. And we love them so much, don't we? And I can tell you just by the fact that you're still here that your cat is very blessed to have you as their owner. Animals are a precious, precious gift as far as I'm concerned. So, I won't keep you any longer. Thank you so much for staying with me this long. And I hope I've helped. If you have any questions, if you need any help with anything, if there's a topic I haven't covered here that you wish that I would cover, please leave a comment in the comment box and I will be happy to help you if I can. Okay. So again, my name is Deborah and my website is peoplelovinganimals.com. Thanks again. Bye-bye.